Morning, everybody.
Hello.
Morning. Good
I
morning.
don't see Percy, but I recognize what he looks like anyway.
Who's that?
Percy Ihara.
Percy Ihara. He's the man. Oh my God. Woo-hoo. Thank you. Wow, this is so cool. I can't believe it. We're happening live and it's 9:01.
I like Eileen's background.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Eileen.
Hi,
Oh my
Annette.
gosh. Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Okay, so Kurt, you're calling from Florida. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'll just stick around for a minute. So if you need anything from me, I'll jump out.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're cool and we are going live. And I really, really thank you for joining me. It is on the eve of Halloween. And my sister-in-law, Bobby, did this for me and all the kids. And hi, Bobby, I can see you online. And I already started chomping it. She does her special crunchies. So as I'm waiting for everyone to come in, I can see that we've got Gail and
Yes,
Yvonne.
hi.
Hi, Yvonne. Oh my gosh. And Eileen, Elise, I never met you, but I hear so much about you. Jack and Helen, Michelle, Percy, yay. Blake Vance, I never met you. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Tanya, yay, Tanya. And Valerie, thank you, Valerie. Valerie was so kind to invite me for a big speech with her group, and we had to cancel. And this was because of COVID. And it was just like, wow. And so I'm so glad, Valerie, because I think I have to go online now. Yeah, so Kurt's saying if anybody knows how to use the chat, please, do you know how to use the chat, everybody? Just wondering. You want to test it out and say boo for Halloween or hi, everybody. The chat is right below where you'll see it. And whoops, just thinking if there's somebody I have to admit. And you can write your comments. Yay, Michelle, good morning, hi. Okay, Jerry's there with you. Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure everyone's there. Yay, Warren. So is Suzanne here? Because Suzanne is Warren's big colleague, and I was just wondering if she's here. Hi, Eileen. Eileen's coming from Mililani. That's cool. And we have, just want to let you know, we have about a 40-minute presentation from me, 10 minutes from Dr. Wong, who is supported by his staff. And after that, we have a lot of time for questions and answers. And is that Yvonne Shea, who is the mother of my weekend son? Okay, everybody. And I think Elise is calling from the mainland, right? Elise? You don't have to say anything. You can be anonymous. You can jump on when you want to. Hi, Tanya. And oh, Gail and Michael, cool. I like that. I'm not alone. So I wanted to make sure that everybody's cool. Thank you, Percy. Percy Ihara is the biggest guy in the world to me because he started aging he started the whole Generations magazine movement to highlight people who are aging, and has created a magazine and has created huge seminars. And for about 4 years, Percy, or 5, I've been honored to be invited to be a presenter at Generations magazine, right, Percy? And I think the group was up to 5,000 people. That was so cool. So now that we're in COVID, and I still want to say I love you guys, and we're not able to be rubbing shoulders. We're trying this online, and this is kind of a maiden voyage. And so you are my ladies and gents who are going to travel along with me and bear with me, because I really, really want to start going online if we're not going to be able to do it otherwise. I'm going to share my screen and see if you can see that. And if you can, just send me a message. Oops, 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 oops. Okay, there we go. You see this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So let's start, everybody. This is October 29th, 2020. And what I want to do is take a drink of water. And talk about the 3 secrets to detox your communication, to avoid misfires, and to build awesome relationships. And the reason why we're going to do this is because that's what I hear about all the time. So welcome and mahalo, and thank you for your wonderful support. I'm Annette Pang, and to get started, please guess these answers. And you could write it in the chat. What are the 3 most powerful words in the world? Does anybody have a guess? Eileen, you're nodding. Okay, what's in the chat? Okay, let me see what anybody say. I love you. Hey, you guys are right on. Thank you. Okay, the 3 most powerful words in the world are I love you. Can you tell me the 2 most powerful words in the world? Now, this is according to Dr. Google. Yes, Blake, thank you is absolutely powerful. And Elise, actually, okay, what the 2 most powerful words in the world are I'm sorry. But the biggest question for you today is, how often do you say I love you and I'm sorry to your closest loved ones? Google says many people don't, and they feel embarrassed or they go, they choke. Yes, they easily say them to their children, grandchildren, and pet dogs. But to our spouses, and parents, we stop short. So what about you? Do you say I love you or just save it for only Valentine's Day? And this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to get off my here and just get to this and move it on to this so that you could see, you can see the slides this way. Whoops. I'm going to move my chat down a little bit. Okay. All right, you're like Cupid. Your words can either win hearts with support and collaboration, or your words can pierce and criticize, causing senseless arguments. And this is where I come in as a family coach because I hear it in families. So I want you to be courageous, detoxify communication, and clear the air and come out of that smoke and fog. So what I'm asking you to do is to be a fumigator. And here's what's funny to me. They say, Annette, you're such a smooth conversationalist, never saying the wrong thing. Well, that's true, except I'm guilty of misfires myself. Just a few weeks ago, while watching the news, sitting next to my husband in our lazy boy chairs, I wanted to tell him the story about my daughter looking high and low for her son's Pokemon cards. But then it happened. He had the nerve to interrupt me and he said, what are Pokemon cards? And I said, whoa, wait, I'm not finished. I'll tell you later. Plus you're interrupting me. Ooh, that didn't go over well. That really got to him. And he said, there you go again, taking control. And I thought, what? He's telling me I was controlling and he's hijacking my story? And it wasn't a very good situation, but nobody wanted to budge. Our chat morphed from good to bad to ugly. And guess what happened next? He got up and he walked away. Our conversation was over and out like a mic drop. And after that, when we brushed our teeth and we passed each other in the hallway, you could cut that yucky feeling between us with a knife. Each second felt like dragging a heavy desk across a crowded room. Honestly, the farthest thing from my mind was saying, I love you, or I'm sorry. I wasn't going to say that for a lot of money in the world, believe me. Today, it's different. I'd be embarrassed to tell you, because after all, I'm supposed to be teaching you about communication, right? However, today I'm not ashamed to tell you that I have misfires. And why? Because I know you flub up too. Show me one family who does not.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how smart you are in your family, at work, church, school, sports team, wherever people gather, your conversations can be fiery, misinterpreted, X-rated, and bruising others. Is that right? I saw that firsthand after coaching hundreds of my private clients, care home families, leading workshops at Generations Magazine, Alzheimer's Association, Project Donna, that people really are wallowing in hurt and pain. So back to my husband, what happened next? In order to return to peace, I used these 3 sentences. I sucked in my pride. I waited for him to pour his coffee. And then I quietly said, and watch the way I asked him, if you can look at my screen. May I ask you a question? It was both my body language and my words. And believe me, Scouts Honor, this happened 2 weeks ago. I went, may I ask you a question? Through his pursed lips and not even looking at me, he said, what? It was heavy duty. Sorry, I'm going to admit more people. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. And then I said, can we chat? And of course he said, about what? What? And I said, about what's up? Now that alone, the words and the tone soothed, softened, and cleared the air. Being married for 50 years this past July 26th, I knew he was never going to be the one to break the ice. Never. And I knew exactly what to do to clear this up quickly, because you see, I personally don't like tiptoeing around angry feelings. It just gets to me. I think that's the way I'm built. I really just don't like it. On the other hand, some of you might be okay. You don't mind not talking to each other for days, months, even years. But for me, I find I always want to close open loops with my husband and with others, because I know that there's a huge impact and the cost of miscommunication, which can ruin loving families. I witnessed numerous cases while teaching school 50 years ago in Philadelphia, San Francisco, Honolulu, as well as owning elder care homes for 20 years. So I believe it is best to take action early to thaw out the stone cold silent treatment before it's too late. And just a little commercial break. Even though it's a really stone cold silent treatment, there is still a way to chip at it. And that's really advanced. But I was able to help a family who was totally estranged, and 2 sons never saw their mom for 2 years since the last Thanksgiving. And when she was dying, her sister, who was my client, wanted me to coax them to come over from Maui, and they did. But that was not an easy process like saying, mom's dying, come over now. It was the process of bonding and rapport. It was to listen. It was to create a safe space. And so I know, but that takes a lot of time and energy, but it's worth it, especially to say goodbye to mom. But I know that it's better to start early. The worst case was with a family who never reunited, and they refused to say goodbye when their mom passed away. They never came, and they just lived 3 miles away. That launched me into my orbit right now. So now everything I'm doing possible now is to bring awareness, skills, and practice so families never come to that. Our session will be 40 minutes. I'll stick around longer to answer questions. This mastermind is divided into 3 parts. We just talked about the impact of miscommunication. The second part, we're going to go after the 3 secrets for detoxing. And the third is how to apply these secrets for short-term and long-term use. And then we're going to meet Dr. Warren Wong, who will tell us about his app that brings loved ones together. And I hope we can get that on. Before we move on to part 2, here's a quote from Maya Angelou. And I met her. She was about 6'1". She's a tall, towering person. She says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. So on to the 3 secrets, knowing what Maya Angelou says. I searched and developed the solution, which took me almost 50 years. But with shortcuts, I know what, when, why, and how to ask my husband in just 3 sentences. Whereas I used to write him pages and pages of letters, rambling on, not even knowing what I was trying to say. So I developed the NAP process. And if you take a piece of paper or think in your mind of an hourglass, you can figure out what I've designated to be the NAP process to look like. The NAP process stands for notice in the big dome, ask in the middle section, which is the neck, and P for the bottom dome. And you know that hourglasses can be flipped, right? So once the sand fills in one, you flip it over. And that's how our communication is. It never ends. It's never like, well, it's just going to end, October 30th at 5 o'clock. It just keeps going on for years and years and years. So our communication has to evolve. And if you notice, there's a skinny part, which is the ask part, and really 2 big fat areas called the notice and practice. So let's kind of go through this now. And I'm going to sort of gloss over it because we go into this more deeply for my course, but I just want to let you know that there's hope along the way. So the hardest place to go through is that net. And the reason is because it stands for ask. And believe me, I know people don't like to ask others questions. So for the end section, this is where you pay attention to the other person. You read between the lines. You wonder about their choices. You imagine and walk through their shoes. In the ask section, oops, that letter dropped. This space is tight because asking questions is the hardest and most difficult things to do. Like, when are you going to take a shift to take care of mom? Or did you know you're spending too much money right now? What are you doing with our credit card? Those are questions that when you ask have a lot of velocity and trauma to it, or you don't know how to ask. But if you don't, you block the truth. And I watch people arguing and skirting around because they're scared or disappointed. Now, the bottom part of the dome is practice, and you have to practice saying phrases and words for fluency, just like the way you practice playing the piano or speaking a language. This brief introduction is something that we practice all the time. What are you noticing? How are you asking? And how do we practice for it? And today we're going to practice. Also, we're going to have some takeaway tips so that you can learn how to apply NAP and NAP short-term starting tonight, as well as long-term. And this can go on for many, many years. For immediate use of the N, do this at home tonight. Start your own watch party. While you're watching TV or having dinner, Listen to how you talk to others, how they talk to you. What's the tone? What words do they use? What about the body language? This is one of the things that we need to debrief all the time, because if you don't get that straight, you never can watch the other person accurately. You just kind of have a figment of imagination of the other person. Another immediate detoxification is to use embellishment. How many of you have heard about embellishment before? Embellishment is when you get a gift box, and instead of just wrapping it in newspaper, which I've done before, or just with tissue paper, you put a bow on it, you put a tag on it, and you just add more and more things to entice the person to come to you. Embellishment softens your tone. If you're demanding like boss baby or drill sergeant, when you say, give me the towel, because maybe something spilled, so you got to yell it out, right? If you use embellishment, it really, really softens the air, breaks that sticky spirit, and it doesn't make you sound like a commander-in-chief. So what is an example of embellishment? You can say, give me the towel. Pretty please with chocolate sprinkles. Or you could use hugs and kisses, or whatever words you prefer. Or on your way to Las Vegas, or whatever it sparks that person's interest. Add that little embellishment as a tail end to your commanding words. And then they know that you know that your request didn't land right. But when you embellish it, it really, really helps. This embellishment will uplift the spirit, because no one likes to be ordered around. And notice that Amazon uses a lot of embellishing too. Do you see their swish and their colors? And we appreciate you. And we should take a lesson from Amazon, because they know what they're doing. But we can also apply that strategically to you and your family. So here's a long-term solution, because the other ones were short-term solutions. And another short-term solution is to go around to your family tonight and say, I love you. Just wanted to let you know I love you. Or did you know that I love you? So that's a good short-term solution. But here's a long-term solution, because some of you might already be very fluent in this. P for the practice allows you to sharpen your fluency and confidence. In my courses, my clients develop their ease, flow, and tone. And you might think, oh my gosh, that's like kindergarten or first grade, but that really isn't, because I know that a lot of us have that foot in the mouth disease, where we say something and it sounds horrible and it didn't come out right. Well, the practice helps you develop that fluency. So let's practice something right now. Do you see the sentence that says, don't cook it too long, it gets mushy? So if you say it, I know you're muted, or some of you are. If you say, don't cook it too long, it gets mushy. How does that sound to the chef who has been chopping and stirring and cooking and slaving over her pot? It doesn't sound very friendly and welcoming and like you're rocking them in a little cradle. So how should we practice saying the same words but using a different tone? Well, let's take the sentence again. Don't cook it too long, it gets mushy. You could elongate the word too, and you could add spaces between it gets mushy. So the new way would sound like, don't cook it too long, it gets mushy. And that, if you compare the first one to the second one, how does that sound? It sounds like it's more welcoming, like you're working as a collaborative team, as you're not demanding or criticizing or complaining, but it sounds like you're kind of discovering together. And then you could say something afterwards so that it's welcoming, right? So that's one long-term solution. Another long-term solution is learn to ask questions. And my clients who study in a 6-month to a 1-year program reach different levels of mastery to learn how to ask. I find they're so timid and afraid to ask questions because they're afraid of the answer. They don't know how to put words together. When I worked with a brother and sister who just bickered about every little thing, I said to her, just ask your brother before you even begin a conversation, do you get nervous when I come to town? She refused to. But if she did that, it would have been a better icebreaker and then start complaining about other things. But that's because she was afraid. Because hearing from the horse's mouth will avoid that. And what I want to do in this part 3 is to make sure that through NAP, you reach peak performance. You don't wallow in those confused thoughts and those ways to say, oh my gosh, he's judging me, he's blaming me, he doesn't think I'm good enough, etc., etc. Applying NAP really, really works on performing very well, because many of my clients say that their family communication sounds like they're walking on eggshells. And the family is the root of your family tree. It's the root of who you are. And if you're walking on eggshells in your family, that's kind of really heavy. So this process helps you pivot and prepare for whatever comes up. And this only doesn't work for the newbies that start with me. It starts with the midliners who become commanders, masterminders who are already mastering really complex relationships. They're already negotiating contracts. They're settling agreements. They're setting safe spaces, and they're beginning to teach others. And this is what I want, because I can't teach everybody. But if I start with a small hub like you, who are so precious to me, and I reach out and out, we can really change the world one family at a time. So I found the heaviest reasons why people have detoxification in their communication is because they don't know how to use the words, the right tone and timing. They don't know how to talk about money in their family estate. And they don't know how to prepare for a new role of daughters becoming mothers and mothers becoming daughters. So this is what I'm concentrating on. I want to avert that downward spiral. Marriages, families, workers fired. And remember, I'm like you. Right in my own extended family, sadly, I see fallouts from divorce, separation, and disagreement over money matters. Using a process like NAP, and you could call some other processes, will repair the broken conversations, restore harmony, and create a safe space. And when you are down, this law of gravity can pull you and everyone else. And for those who are attending today, I have your email addresses from Zoom. I'll send you the 4 booby traps in communications so you can carry on this message in your families and with others. Quickly, the booby traps are the blurter, the bully, the bleeper, and the blabber. Because once you are able to have some mastery, you'll have the courage to ask questions and not make up stories about somebody else, like they're selfish or they never like to share. You can develop the freedom so you can say what's on your mind and get it off your chest. And you can develop the certainty so you can set the environment where everybody wins. Win, win, win. When you do that, you not only know how to detoxify your family, but coworkers, your boss, your clients, your neighbors, your plumbers, everybody around you. Right now, my neighbor is working with a valve and mine, and we're in a condo, and she's installing it, I'm installing it. And because we have absolutely crystal clear information, she was able to tell me, whenever you run your disposal, stuff comes up in my sink. And I went, horrors, we got to fix that. And through the collaboration, rather than feeling like, oh, she's blaming me, okay, I can't grind my disposal any longer, we can now work together. What I did for my husband, and I mentioned it briefly, was to close the open loop. I reran the scene. I asked him questions. I pivoted to find new possibilities. And now we're back in sync. So in a few weeks, I'll be starting another course so you can study deeper if this is interesting to you. It took me years to learn this. And now you can shortcut the time to serve yourself and your family. The research shows if you ignore your needs, you might not sleep well, your stomach or your head may ache, and you might get a rash. And you know what my dentist said? He sees so many cracked teeth now. And that's because people are grinding and grinding and grinding.
Oh, yeah.
He said it's increased. So this is the end of my presentation, and I want to congratulate you for staying to the end. You'll get the 4 bloopers by email, and Dr. Wong is going to come on next. And I want to let you know that you have choices. You don't have to be stuck and mired and wallowed in this smoke or a situation where you just don't know what to do and you keep thinking about it over and over again. I learned that it feels better to be open to harmony and collaboration with my husband as well as others. Learning never stops, and I hope that someday we can work together too. And with my Angelou, that feeling is absolutely something that I'm sustained. I see your names. You come from so many places, from my care home. You come from my neighbors are here. You come from my workshops. You come from my private clients. I think I have a whole family of my private clients here today. Thank you, thank you. And I can't tell you, I just sent this email 2 days ago. And for all of you to be on board, how do I feel? I feel like I want to cry. You lifted me up. You gave me inspiration and support and encouragement to continue this work. And that's so magical. It's better than giving me anything else because that feeling transferred to me. And that's what I want you to remember, that you have the power to use your words to transfer your feeling and your energy so that you can change yourself and your family and all those around you. So here's my husband, married for 50 years. And this is our anniversary 40 years ago. I have on my little picture screen my bridal party. And right here at the end is Kathy Ching. And she is online today. And what does that tell me? It tells me that for 50 years plus, actually Casey, 60 years, we have been having our escapades, having our children, traveling together, exchanging laughter. She is the funniest person on earth, and I want to feature her sometime. We exchange tears. Whatever it is, our relationship endures. And that's this exchange of feeling that I want to share with you. So without ado, I want to introduce Dr. Warren Wong, who's a geriatric doctor and clinical professor at the John A. Burns School of Medicine. I'm so impressed with him. I met him last year when I was giving a speech, and he came up and said, let's exchange ideas and network. And he has a fabulous app that I'd like you to listen to. So let's start with Dr. Wong. And afterwards, if you have questions and answers, just ask freely. And for all of the rest of you, if you have to leave, please do so, because I didn't want this to go beyond the time limit. But at the same time, I wanted you to take away some interesting things that you can use immediately in the long term. And you can remember that you can notice, you can ask, and you can practice for absolutely detoxified communication. So thank you, everybody. And I love you. Okay, Dr. Wong, can we put you on?
Yeah, I got a clap on that. Can you hear me?
Okay, hold on. You have to what?
I have to clap for you.
Oh, thank you. I just so enjoyed this so much. No,
Yeah.
I wanna make you really big. So you take over. Let me stop sharing my screen. How about that?
Okay.
And
So
I'm not
I'll,
sure. And
I'll,
you're gonna
I'll
be
share
able to
my
share,
screen
right?
now.
Okay, mine is stopped. And then now we're gonna go to you. Thank you everybody for bearing with me. This is my very first Zoom. So I really appreciate your patience. But you know what? Hey, we have to start somewhere, right? And at 74, I'm starting here. Okay, now, Dr. Wong, let's see. Hi, Holger.
So, Annette, I really enjoyed your talk. You obviously got a lot of practice because I think everybody knows, when we meet Annette, uh, she's the bestest. And, I think I'm still on the end of nap, but, I notice things. I got to go to the next step that is ask. And I was just thinking about the little example you gave. It's just such a simple example with your hubby. And I've been married over 30 years, and
Oh.
I probably haven't gotten to the ask with the last disagreement I had with my wife yet. So,
Well, Warren, how long does it last?
well,
Do you let it last for 50 years, or not 50 years, but do you let it last a year or 6 months?
I try to get it to last less than a day. So,
Okay, that's good because some people have agreements. There's a process that I've learned about called the blueprint of we, and we actually make agreements to let it last. Somebody might say, I'd like to let it last 3 weeks, and somebody might say, I'd like to let it last 3 hours. And then you kind of find a mutual agreement, and then you return to peace. So even that can be calibrated. And I want you to know that you are not alone. We all have the motor mouth.
yeah. So, when you're talking, I realize that, there's so much emphasis on STEM education now. Is what we really need is education and communications, and learning it in nursery school. That would make such a big difference in our lives. And I think you gave a PhD discourse right there. So I'm glad you're going to send us all your materials, and I'm going to get back and, of course, study it. And because I think there's also a lot of material for what we could put in our app. Because what you're saying actually applies to communicating with people who have dementia as well. So Annette, reached out to me and asked me to talk about my product. And I just wanted to start off with the first page. It's available in the Apple Store for 99 cents. And we're still on the verge of making multiple millions of dollars on it. That's probably something I don't hold my breath about. But it is available only in the Apple Store. That's one of the questions that people ask.
Okay.
But I'll start out with the big why of why I'm doing this. And this is the big why. It's to brighten the lives of people with memory problems and their caregivers and loved ones. And it is an app that's meant for people with dementia. And, I'm a geriatrics doctor, and the more important part of dementia care, which is the bread and butter of geriatrics, is not to understand how to take care of the disease. It's really to understand how to take care of the person. And if any of you, have taken care of people with dementia, there's really not that many truly effective medicines. And the analogy I use a lot of times is the analogy of autistic children. We do so much for autistic children, and it's not with medicines. It's about how we interact with people and try and manage the disabilities that occur and maintain a person's dignity in life. So that was the kind of the big challenge that I felt was really important to address. And I'm just going to go through this pretty rapidly. And then the second part is we're going to have Holger, the person who's done the hard work of creating the app. He's going to give you a little run through of the app itself. And then lastly, we have a surprise guest with a video that I think you'll recognize the surprise guest. You know, there's many tools out there for autistic children. And I said, why don't we create a tool that works for caregivers and for people with cognitive impairment? You know, for people who have autism, children who have autism, we give them all kinds of exercises to kind of work their brain. And, you know, in the world of dementia, I'm not saying that we can reverse the dementia, but I can tell you this. If I see Annette's face, you know, once every couple months, I'm much more likely to remember Annette's face and her name and her role in my life than if I don't hardly ever see her. So a part of this is about reinforcement. The other really important part is about geriatrics is a lot like pediatrics, because you're not just taking care of the patient, you're also taking care of the caregiver. And now with COVID-19, the stress, the caregivers are the unrecognized essential workers. And a lot of caregivers now are at home, sandwiched in between parents they're taking care of and children they need to take care of. It's a really tough task. And so how do you support a caregiver is you support them emotionally, you give them some tools to use, and you provide some education. And then you also help them realize that they're not all alone and they're a part of a community. And we try to accomplish all of those things with the app. So, you know, one simple thing we do in all our lives is we text and send pictures. And so, of course, for a person with dementia, it's not that easy. But if you go back to the previous page, there's a message box on the upper left-hand corner. A person who's a son or a daughter of a person with memory problems can send a picture and send a message to remind a person, this is your granddaughter. And you know, a lot of times to give dignity to a person with dementia, it's not just about asking how they're doing. It's also allowing the dementia person with dementia to be realized that they're part of a real world where the person with dementia has a right to know what's going on in the world around them and is still connected with the world around them. And that's always not about how's mom doing. It's also telling mom, how am I doing? So these are some of the features that Holger will go through fairly quickly. Our app is a little bit different in that personalized pictures are put into it. So it's not just a memory game. It's talking about memories that are important to you. And the concepts are a person with memory problems can still remain connected. They can still get stimulation for their brain. And the way they feel matters. And some of the things we've done in the design, and we keep on working on this, is make sure that we make it easy to use, make sure that a person with dementia can stay interested in it, and that's the game-like features, and make it interactive. And here's just another picture. Now I'm going to turn my screen over to Holger, who's just going to do a quick run-through. And after the run-through, we're going to get the first showing. So our app actually has videos that we share with caregivers, and we're going to share with you a video that's not in the app yet, but you get the sneak preview. But before we do that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I know Holger knows how to take over.
Hello all, thank you for coming. Thank you, Annette, for giving us the opportunity to show the app a little bit. And I just have to turn on my screen share. Okay. And can you see the home screen of the app? No. Yes. Okay. So, and you can all hear me, I hope. So this is the starting screen of the app, and we're looking at the actual app on an iPad. And this is the home screen for the person with memory problems. So sections, this app, this particular one we're looking at is put together for Gloria. You see Gloria in the top right with the About Me. And let's start on that. Since I'm on an iPad, you won't see me tapping things, but I'm tapping on the About Me button. And it'll bring a number of pictures. And as it says, which picture is you? And of course, for us, it's fairly simple to find Gloria at the bottom row. There's the second picture. But we designed the app that we don't penalize mistakes. We want people to be engaged and to have a positive experience. So I will tap on a couple of pictures that are not Gloria. The first one, it just says, oops, try again. And if I still don't get it right, the app makes it easier. We just reduce the number of pictures. And even if this is too hard, we'll lead the person to the right answer. So here we have Gloria, and yes, great, that's the picture. Now we reinforce the names. So what is your name? Again, we have a selection of names. And now I'll just make it a little shorter. So I'll hit Gloria, that's her name, great. And the next step in this is about the social environment, about her loved ones and close family members. So we ask, do you know someone here? And again, it's random generated images. One of them is somebody Gloria knows. And in this case, it's me. It's on the top row, all the way on the right. That's me at work somewhere in the hub here in Honolulu. But again, the same thing. If I hit a wrong person, it says, oops, try again. And then if it does it again, it gets simpler. So, and if I hit myself, there we are. It will say, who is this? Asking about the name. And my American name is Ray, so I just want to cut through this. Again, if you make mistakes, we make it simpler. Then we ask, the role in the family or in the relationship to the person with memory problems. So I'm Gloria's son-in-law. But again, if I hit some wrong ones, make it easier to find the right answer. Excuse me. So, and this can be repeated. It depends on how many images are available of family members and loved ones. So there is a second person involved who prepares the app and uploads these pictures. All right. Now, as I go back to the home page, you maybe saw on the top left the mailbox flag going up and indicating that there is a message for Gloria. So if we click on this, let's see what happens. And there's Dr. Warren. Dr. Warren has the ability to send messages to all the users of the app. So everybody who's using the app gets these occasional messages from Dr. Warren. And here it says, last week was very sad. He had to send a patient to the hospital. Please be careful. And we give the opportunity for people to reply to Dr. Warren, but it's a very simplified way. I can just click on it for a second. So just, we can say something, thank you, and send the reply, and it goes off. So now Dr. Warren will find a message in this inbox that Gloria replied and said thank you. And he will take the time to reply to people using the app. All right, lastly, in the lower right, you see games. we designed a number of games suitable for folks with memory problems. They're cognitive type games. And we also have Chat with Suzanne on the top left. This is sort of emotional validation. So Suzanne asks different questions. Like she says, I feel sad today. How do you feel today? And we give folks 3 options, happy, okay, sad. So they can tell us how they feel. And then Suzanne continues the conversation. When I feel okay, I listen to music. What do you do when you feel okay? Well, let's say we go to a walk. And it's just these little snippets of conversations, but the goal is really to validate people's feelings and also show them that they're important, that somebody pays attention. So we can continue the conversation. There are more types of questions, or we can go back to play a game. And I wanted to show you quickly, as I said, the app is available for Apple devices. And we have a free trial period, so feel free to download it and check it out. I think it's 1 or 2 weeks that you can use the app for free. And just very quickly, the photo puzzle, this is something we recently did. Very simple to us ordinary folks, but it has challenges for people with cognitive impairments. So here we have to tap on the right square, and I tapped on the wrong one. So if I hit the right one, it will fill it in. And then we can complete the puzzle. It's just 4, but it's deliberately kept simple but challenging enough for folks with memory problems. Okay, and there's more games of different types. So there's a lot to look through. The very last thing, just very quickly, you see in the center at the bottom is a photo album. There you can just look through photos that are added to the app by the admin. And these things are great conversation starters, just to look through a photo album like we used to do with loved ones with a regular photo album. And oh, there's Uncle George and so forth. Lastly, as we developed the app, it became clear that we do want to support the caregivers. And so there's the For My Caregiver part in the center. If I click this, it will allow folks to just take a breather, look through some affirmations, and we put together a large video library with different experts. Some of them these things are either fun or they're helpful, useful tips on how to deal with common things like how to get somebody to brush their hair or put a different shirt on. These kind of things, 2 very fun stuff. And this video library, again, is available in the app. And I think that should do for a quick overview. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So, Holger, is this something that people can use by themselves because the elderly might not know how to navigate through it? Is it relatively simple?
Well, the original idea was to have folks interact with the app on their own. But then in reality, we found it works best sort of as a conversational structure. So if there's a caregiver or a loved one's interacting with the person with memory problems by playing the app, it gives them some structure, it gives a lot of talking points, and it tends to work well for 10, 15 minutes a day. It's a really nice activity. And we've seen that works really well.
I see. What's the most popular tile or interest?
Yeah, we're still collecting data. I can't really tell you which one is the most used, but we got great feedback in doing in-person testing. One of the games is a bubble game where people just pop bubbles as they come up. So that is just really, well, it is hand-eye coordination. Warren can tell you more about the benefits of those things. But it appears to be very popular. So it's like, solitaire or something like that. People get engaged with that. And they also like the about me and about the relatives, who is that? So, but we're still evaluating data. So we'll know more in a few months. And then we'll build accordingly. I mean, it's all about the person with memory problems and the caregiver. So we try to make it the best for them.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a trial for us as well, because Holger and I play with the app all the time, but this was our first time demoing it in a Zoom audience. And I do a lot of Zoom things, and there's always complications that we didn't anticipate. So Holger, that went so well. I really, really appreciate that. And we have a bunch of different videos, and some of the videos are meant to be seen directly by the person with dementia. For instance, we have one video that talks about Halloween, and it's pretty entertaining, and that's meant to be viewed directly by a person with memory impairment. And it just, it's kind of like keeping them a part of this world, saying, it's that time of year, it's Halloween, and this is what we're doing on Halloween. And it avoids asking questions of the person with dementia, but it does allow them to reflect backwards on their own Halloweens. The other part is to give helpful advice to people who are caregivers. And the videos are one way of doing it. And as promised, we're going to show you a video of a guest star that you can imagine how this would be helpful to a caregiver.
Okay.
Oh.
Warren,
That was great, though. She's smiling.
Oh my gosh.
I don't get the audio for the video.
Thank you. That's just a lot of hot air. But this is when we were this is when we were demonstrating. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much, Holger and Suzanne, his wife, and Warren. This is
it seems the audio is missing, but it's
well, that's
one of the
okay.
videos of you guys.
That's okay.
It's very engaging.
That's an energy dance that we usually do to just get the energy going. Our elders are locked down in our care home. We've been doing, we did St. Patrick's Day, then we did Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, July 4th, and Grandparents' Day. Now we're going to be doing Halloween this weekend on Zoom. So they're getting to be pretty good Zoomies. But anybody else have a comment for Holger and Warren, or about the presentation or anything you've heard? I just want to say welcome Armando Savet, who is from North Carolina at 93 years old.
Yes, yes. Wow. All right.
And so we've got South Carolina, Florida, California, Hawaii, and I don't know where else, but thank you so much for joining in. It's been fabulous. And we may feature you on these next Zoom calls. But
Armando is very special. He's got an amazing life history. I think
love to hear that.
Yeah. What was it? Holger, he served in the White House or whatever. What was the story?
He was in the State Department. No? No, Health and Human Services. Sorry. Yeah. So he was very active in Washington in the administration and in social service. He also was involved with Head Start project, I believe. He was one of the first people to promote that. And so, yeah, we'll have to talk to him. That's an amazing story. He knows a lot of it.
Filipino American.
Wow.
That's
but he can use Zoom. I am impressed. My auntie at 94 years old, Eileen Char, uses Zoom every day to talk to her church members. She has her own account. But anybody else have a comment about what you heard today about the program to detoxify communication, creating a safe space, practicing something that you might not know, comments about what you're going through in our courses, what you'd like to hear in the future. Percy says, great job, Warren, and looking forward to more from your app. For your information, our current October issue, along with August, with Governor Ige's wife, Mrs. Ige, featured Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Blake, you have a very good comment about how you would coach POTUS in communicating. I think his wife is really trying because she's totally trying to get people to stop bullying online. And I think that as a nation, we've adjusted. And because my philosophy is, no matter how you are with stars and stripes, spots like a leopard or cheetah, there is a very special gift that each of you has. But through environment, personality, through your life experiences, you just taken on a ton of ways to defend yourself, to portray yourself. And a lot of that gets covered with all that stuff. It's like you're the artichoke heart, and we just got to peel off the layers. Because I can tell you, the worst little pit bull, or the worst or the person that is so unreachable and so difficult to work with, has a little heart of gold. That's their life force.
Annette, we got to get Melania to take your course and teach her how to do the ask part.
Okay, let's make a movement and go there, because I really believe that that's where we are. And I say that every family is like a hot fudge sundae. And why? Because we have a sweet spot. It's full of nuts, right? Like on the top. It's full of this gooey stuff like the fudge. We melt down fast like ice cream. We might have a different variety and hot and cold. And the best is when we have the cherry on top. So our hot fudge sundaes are very special. And your family has a very special gift and entity, and whatever it is, if you're not relating to each other or to others, dig out and excavate whatever that sweet spot is. It could be bittersweet, but it's there. That's my belief. Everybody has a gift. Very, very special. And that we will be beginning our own GM webinars, and I'd like you and Warren on them beginning in December. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you, Blake, for the hot fudge sundae analogy. Yes, I feel that way. Okay, anybody else have a comment? I wanted to make sure. I'm sorry, Jean Shu, that I just saw you and you didn't get admitted sooner, but we do have a recording. If any of you want a recording of this, I'll be happy to send it to you, because I'd like you to share it with others. And remember, I'm going to send you the 4 bloopers, the beeper and the bully and the meltdown, all that, so that you know it's common. We're human, but there's always room to return to peace.
Thank you, Annette. It's Gail.
Hi, Gail and Michael.
We appreciate the NAT process, and for us, we're going to try to do it. Try to do it. Thank you for the tips.
Thank you, Gail. Gail, Tanigawa, and Michael are very special. Juanita's daughter and son-in-law, and Juanita was in our home, and she told us stories that when there was a tidal wave where she lived, was it Ka'ava? Punalu. She and her family would run up the mountain while the waves just came up across the road and into their home. And she always wore these hats. And the thing about Juanita was that she cleaned up our tables every time people ate. she would straighten everybody's plate. And people would fight and say, I'm not done eating yet. And she was beginning to take away the forks and the spoons. And she was like this neat freak. And I said to Gail, is your mom a neat person? Was she that way at home?
Yes.
And I can imagine she was, but she always was beautifully dressed. And she took care of our impeccable tables and would never let anybody drip or drop. So
thank you so much. You all have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. So without further ado, because I want to make sure that I stay to the time so that you can come on the next time we talk, because there is goodness in so many of you to share what you're going through and helping others. And I really would like to at some point have some of my clients talk about how this process has really helped them to create a safe space, to reunite, to just spread the possibilities, because I never give up. It's my passion. I should be retiring, but nope, I'm never going to retire from this, not at all. But I see Tanya, and she can talk about programs for long-term care, and of course, Dr. Warren and Percy and Michelle, she can talk about insurance. I mean, we've got like people, Bobby, who these little favors that she makes, and hey, Bobby is waving signs on the street. So whenever you see sign wavers, make sure you pop your horn, you beep your horn. But anyway, I really, really appreciate it. I think we ought to go so that I don't wear out your welcome mat, and look forward to more information coming from us and how we might relate to you. Because if you want to also talk to me about your own private situation, just give me a call, buzz me, and we can go from there. Thank you, everybody.